You are listening to the best of the Classic Metal Show podcast. Catch the Classic Metal Show every Saturday from 9 p.m. till 3 a.m. Eastern Time over at www.theclassicmetalshow.com. The following podcast is sponsored by the Pennsylvania Coin-Operated Gaming Hall of Fame and Museum, located in Hopewell Township, Pennsylvania. Over 400 video games and pinball machines there for you to play. It's all vintage. It's all good. So come on out and play it over at the Pennsylvania Coin-Operated Gaming Hall of Fame and Museum, located in Pennsylvania. For more information on the Gaming Hall of Fame, go to www.coinophof.com. And now let's get to it on another edition of the best of the Classic Metal Show.
It is your Classic Metal Show right here on the classicmetalshow.com. Chris, that was not Ratt. That was actually solo Stephen Pearcy with a new single, I Can't Take It.
Love it, man.
And I think I know how Stephen is feeling with all the nonsense going on out there regarding his former band and all the good things happening for him ahead. So for the first time in quite a while, I want to welcome back to the Classic Metal Show our very good friend, Stephen.
Oh, God, that's great.
Pearcy. So welcome to the show, Stephen.
There you go. Pleasure, guys.
Well, Stephen, I just played the new song, I Can't Take It, and when I first heard it, I was just like, Ratt who?
Well, I got Beau Hill back into the mix, and we've always had a very good rapport since whenever back in the day, and I've always kept in touch, and I told him, when I get enough stuff done here, I'm going to start sending some stuff your way, and sure enough, the time came around, and he mixed the first single and did his thing, and we're going to keep it going as hopefully all through this record, which is going to be the record smash, which will be about 20 songs,
Wow. Well, you know what? When we had you on the show a few years ago, this was when you were just getting back together with Ratt. You were discussing with us how, previously you guys worked with Beau Hill and you enjoyed working with Beau and you kept in contact and were friends. But for some reason within the band, there was resistance to work with Beau. But I think with these new singles that you're turning out, working with Beau is the right choice for you.
Yeah, look, if it wasn't, we were thrown into the mix at the same time. Beau is an up-and-coming new producer guy. We were a new band, and Doug Morris from Atlantic said, here, I'll deal with this band if you produce them. And sure enough, we gave him like 3-4 songs, went into pre-production, and he said, what is the song Round and Round? And we're like, oh, it's just another song. He goes, no, that's the song. And there you go,
Stephen, let's and I don't want to dwell in all the negative stuff, and I won't, but I'm curious, with where you are right now with doing the solo thing and with leaving Ratt and whatnot, and especially with how much positive there was going with Infestation, if you feel almost like now you have to start over, kind of, because you kind of did. You had Top Fuel rolling for a while, and then you stopped to go back to Ratt. And now, now you're kind of not necessarily starting Top Fuel over, but starting Stephen Pearcy over again, where you did have momentum before. Do you feel like that?
Well, see, that's been the problem. I get into this great stride, and it gets disrupted by my group, Ratt, the band this monster I created. And, the problems never went away, and that's why I finally said, look, 30 years of my life, and it's still so many things unresolved, and Juan and I, our bass player from Ratt, we'll end up doing something real soon down the line, but the problems are still there, and we decided, and myself, take ourselves out of the equation and move on to more positive things. We're not 20-year-olds anymore, and there's other things to do. The business has changed. I knew it in 1995. That's why I started Top Fuel Records, to do things my way, when I want, and how I want. And so now I'm back in stride, or trying to, with a messed up knee. But, the music, is people are going to say, oh, it sounds like Ratt anyway. Well, that's because I'm singing it, and that's a compliment. But I write so much diverse music. So to me, it's not starting over. It's just it's a continuance,
Sure.
But this time there won't be any interruption,
Right. Now, Stephen, let's talk a little bit about Smash and specifically how you've chosen to release this. Just because you're one of the very first, if not the first, that I could think of a major selling artist who's had significant sales that has really come out and said that you're going to do it this way, releasing everything one song at a time or a couple of songs, here and there, instead of putting out product, a completed product first. So talk a little bit not only about your decision to do that, but the risks that are involved in doing that versus, the more traditional way of just putting out 12 songs on a disc.
Well, the positive is it's under my label, and I can send it all over to the world, as I choose. And I want every song to have the same attention. Infestation was a good record. Carlos and I wrote the first two singles, but Warren would tell you, if he ever speaks to anybody, it wasn't our best thing. And that's because, during the recording process, the best, the songs that should have been on there weren't on there. And I just knew it right then that there's going to be a roadblock ahead. So I decided the next thing I do, which I started to do with Sucker Punch until another group took that title, I'm just going to give every song the same attention, and I have so much music, I'm just going to write so much music, and it's going to get the same attention, and, it's going to be what it is. And, the way the business is now, and there's no reason to, put out a record and say, oh, these are our best songs. They're not your best songs. There's B-sides or C-sides and D-sides, So I chose to make every song the best song possible and try to outdo the one you just, recorded. The next single we have coming out is called Recipe for Disaster. Now, it's totally different than the first two singles. It's much more aggressive. It's much more street. It's like the Ratt EP, and we're really into it. So we're just going to keep moving along.
Well, Stephen, almost 2 years already. I can't believe it's gone by that quick, but almost 2 years ago already, both Chris and I were at the Oshkosh show where you opened up for Van Halen, and we basically stood side stage and watched you and Ratt perform, and both of us thought that was like one of the most stellar live Ratt shows that either one of us has seen, because I've seen you guys a bunch of times, but that, for some reason, that show was just phenomenal. And
it was great just to be with Van Halen. I mean, we've never played with them, and they've been friends. I mean, I met them. Van Halen was the band that made me move to Los Angeles in 1980. So it was an incredible show. We're playing together finally.
Yeah. Well, it was a great show, and we thought that it was just smooth sailing. Of course, nobody knows what goes on behind the scenes, but unfortunately, unfortunately, that did come crashing down eventually, and you're doing your other thing, but your former drummer, the Blotz, he's out there promoting that he's going to go out and do Ratt music, and I know that that may not set well with the entity known as Ratt.
Well, you're correct. The remaining members really don't understand, anybody can go out and play Ratt music, a cover band or whoever, they pay it. But if you're out there, taking advantage of, I'm doing a tribute to this guy in the band who's no longer with us, or I'm going to do this, and then we hear an ad and they're playing just Ratt music with my voice. It's like, well, you can't do that either. So, in a nutshell, it's not cool. But the guys, he can make a living. That's not a problem, but don't take advantage of, the situation and mislead people and, be out there saying fictitious things, and other than that, it doesn't bother me. I still get paid,
Sure, absolutely. Well, when the Blotz speak, people listen.
Yeah, I'm sure they do.
Well, just not you, Stephen.
Yeah, okay.
Well, anyways.
Yeah, I don't do anything. I don't write music. I just babble on. That's my job.
Sure, absolutely. Well, Stephen, you mentioned the fact that you're kind of hobbled with this, this knee problem. Is this a result of the time that you fell off the stage a while back?
Yes. There's a misconception people have that your kneecap is your knee. Well, when my kneecap imploded, your kneecap is, your actual knee is under your kneecap. So I've been jumping around and being Yancey like I always am out there. And I've had a couple tumbles. The last show I did, I had to be helped off stage by Ron Jeremy, actually, which is way cool. And, and I had a brace on, and eventually I went to the doctor's hospital, and they go, "You need a new knee." And I'm like, well, I got about 25 shows to do here starting in about 3 weeks. I don't think we're going to have time, but let's figure out a way to get around this, and then I'll have surgery. It takes a couple months, and been here before, and, we'll do it again. I'll get through it.
Sure. Well, if anybody can offer a third leg, I'd imagine it's Ron Jeremy.
I know I'm going to borrow his third leg as a crutch.
Nice. Well, Stephen, given that your leg is on the mend, do you worry that you're not going to be able to do the typical Stephen Pearcy show for the fans?
Well, look, I never claimed to be like this phenomenal operatic singer rock dude guy, so right. I'll probably sing a lot better because I'm not going to be jumping around like a freak, but so, you'll probably get a better voice out of me, and that's about it. I'm going out there, and I'm a pirate, and, a cement pirate by trade, and I'm just going to do my job and have a good time. We have some great shows. They're on the website, stephen-pearcy.com, and it's an extensive amount of dates, and we hit the studio whenever we have time off, and it'll happen. We're going to have a good time.
Sure. Now, who exactly is with you in the band, Stephen?
The band is Greg D'Angelo on drums from White Lion, Matt Thorne on bass, Chris Hager on guitar, who have actually been with Mickey Ratt and early Ratt on bass guitar, and then Eric Ferrantino's my right-hand guy for the last, 10, 12 years on lead guitars, and one of my co-writers, and it's the same recording band, and we have a great time. We go out there and just have a good time. It's old school. It's like it's where I come from. The Robert Plant style of let's get out there and try to make the evening different every night. And if you want a carbon copy, pick up the record. If you want to have a good time, go to a show.
Right, and I have to imagine that these are a lot more fun than what you've been dealing with, because Ratt just seemed to have turned into all business, not the shows necessarily, but from everything, all the problems that are public anyway. It just seems like what you were dealing with was just a broken business entity, where this just sounds like it'll be a lot more fun for you, no?
Of course, and, actually pays better, on how to figure that one out is just crazy in itself, but that's irrelevant. We just go out there and have a good time. It's quite different because we don't have this attitude of, I'm this guy. I mean, we're mates. We go out there, and that's it. That's what it's all about. Is, hey, look, we're not 20-year-olds anymore, and this is what we do. I still appreciate people coming out. We have a great time still out there playing, and I love getting out there and yelling at people. I mean, that's it. I yell at you, and we have a good time.
Sure. Well, Stephen, I'm looking at your tour dates over there at stephen-pearcy.com, and I see that you're just crisscrossing the country. You got the West Coast dates, and then you're all the way over on the East Coast, and then you're in the middle of the states, and back and forth and back and forth. Obviously, this kind of tour itinerary doesn't bother you at all.
No, because there's breaks, and, we have some Mexico dates coming up. I mean, the dates keep coming. I have to stop them eventually to get repaired and then continue, which is almost perfect timing, because then the record will probably have the 20 songs done, and I can get it put out there and do some cool stuff with it. So, yeah, we're ping-ponging around. It's like a crisscross puzzle, but it's all good, we'll make it through.
Sure, absolutely.
We're hardcore.
Well, prior to coming on the air, you mentioned that you were doing some kind of a movie cameo or something. So what's going on with that?
Yeah. Well, I was asked to write a couple of songs, re-record a couple of Mickey Ratt songs. The show that I did it for is a late 70s kind of show, Sunset Strip. We actually filmed it at the Whiskey. And then they asked me if I wanted to play a security guy at the door, and I'm like, of course. So I did a cameo, and there was a cover band up there, a Mickey Ratt band, playing on stage at the Whiskey, and it was such a flashback. It was like, oh, my God, this is nuts, except I'm a security guy. I'm letting all the girls backstage, But that's not uncommon too. So, but it was a good thing to do, a bit of acting. I've never really dwelled on it, but it's like, maybe it's time to do some of this stuff. So I did it.
Excellent. Well, speaking of acting, and this isn't so much acting, but our good friend, the documentarian Bob Nalbandian, put together the Inside Metal, the pioneers of Hollywood metal. LA's metal scene, and he's going to release the second edition here in the fall. But you got interviewed for that, and you play a couple of cameo appearances and your recollections of the early LA days and whatnot. So, have you seen
Way cool.
Have you seen the finished product?
No, I haven't. And it's crazy because I've done so many different things, from Dave Grohl's thing to to the Sunset Strip thing, and maybe that's it. I don't know. I just, I get stuff that interests me, and, I love the legacy. I could be happy with what I've done with Ratt, even if I just stopped it all and just got into other things, which I'm inevitably doing. So it's kind of cool to do these things, It's not like people don't forget, but it's a period in time where everything was so new and fresh, the 80s, and the fact that the band, my band Ratt, hung around so long, and we're continually putting songs in movies and, The Simpsons or this or something, it's actually way cool, and what can you say? I appreciate it, It's way cool, man.
Yeah, excellent. Well, Stephen, I want to ask you a personal question. You mentioned several times that, we're not in our 20s anymore. And how do you personally stay so fit and lean all the time?
Well, I don't party as much as people think I do. Actually, try to just rest up, and I get up very early. People would, to where I'd be going to bed at 4:35. That's when I wake up, I'm not out cruising the town and staying out all night. And, when I'm out doing shows on the road, if there's a strip bar, I tend to stay at the hotel,
Okay. Excellent. Now, do you have a workout regimen at all, or is it just, how do you?
Well, my workout used to be, jumping around on stage and, working for that meal. I have this thing in my head. It's like, don't eat for hours and hours. When the show's done, you could celebrate, and be the pirateer, so to speak. So that was my workout, But then again, I'm constantly up and moving. I am so ADD, and I'm 24/7. Doing 20 things. So, that's my exercise. Excellent. I don't stop for a minute.
Excellent.
Not for 1 second. You can't,
Yeah. Well,
and I don't do blow either. I never liked it then, and I don't like it now.
Sure. Excellent, Stephen. Well, Stephen, it's always a pleasure to have you here on the show, and we'd like to have you back more often, and maybe you'll check in maybe a couple of times through the summer, maybe give us a road update or something like that. You're always welcome on. You're a fan favorite here. Chris and I, we love you. We think you're the greatest, and I'm loving the new tunes, man. They're awesome.
All right, I'll send you the second single if you don't have it, and I'll send you the new one, and spin it up, play it out.
Excellent. All right, well, go check out Stephen Pearcy. He's got a whole list of dates there. I guess the tour starts May 22nd in Agora Hills at the Canyon Club. So
yes.
So you got about a month to heal up there, Stephen.
Yeah, we'll see. But the real surgery has to go down inevitably, and I'm just gonna see what plays out. And I do not cancel shows ever for anything. So see what happens.
Sure, absolutely. All right, we'll go over to Stephen-Pearcy.com, find out where he's at. Go pick up the new singles. They're on iTunes. You can download them for 99 cents. Very cheap and great product, Stephen. And you're sounding better than ever.
Well, thank you, guys. Yeah, Top Fuel Records, iTunes. And you guys, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
All right. Well, Stephen, we always let our guest pick a closing song. It could be one of yours or a favorite of yours from somebody else. What should we play?
How about we Scream for Vengeance?
Excellent. Some Judas Priest, huh?
Yep.
All right. Well, we want to thank Stephen once again for being a part of the show. So for Stephen, we're going to play some Priest. Here's Screaming for Vengeance exclusively here
on your classic metal show.
Yeah.